Welcome to How Preschool Teachers Do It.
This is Alison Kentos. I am an early childhood educator.
And this is Cindy Tarabush. I am an early childhood consultant.
This podcast is for parents and early childhood professionals.
Let our experience and research-based knowledge become your guide. Hello, everybody.
Hey, peeps.
Hello. I find the title of this episode kind of ironic because we talk. I hope people don't think it's like,
on it and be like, oh wait, let them talk. Don't they talk enough?
They talk at me every week. I don't know. But no, we're not talking about us.
We have no problems talking. None.
For sure.
Yeah,
no trouble at all. But sometimes children do have trouble because people talk for them.
Yes, they
and
do.
Both Allison and both of us, we have seen this happen over and over, where you say something to a child or you ask a child a question and the adult by them answers it. Their family member or their teacher answer it for them, or say to them, say this, without giving the child time to process what you've requested. Children need a little time to process, you know. They are not as practiced as processing things as adults are. So we need to, when we ask them something or when we make a request of them, we need to wait, let them think, see what they come back with. But we're very immediate response people. And then there are people who just talk for kids, people who, when, you know, I'm talking to a child and the parent is going, oh, I'm asking the child something, and the parent is just jumping in with the answers.
Yes, that happens all the time. It drives me crazy, as if like the child's response isn't valued or their opinion's not valued, I guess. Or I don't know.
I don't know. I
don't know what the reasoning is there. It's just that they want things to go faster, maybe.
Well, you know, when we started talking about this topic, I hadn't really thought about why, if we have a perfectly capable verbal child, why is the adult jumping in? Is the adult jumping in because they're afraid the child isn't going to answer correctly?
I think in the story I told you, yes, that's exactly right. Okay, so I might tell the story because I'm going to tell the story because my mom does not listen. Okay, so
this will be the one episode, Allison.
Not going to happen. Anyway,
okay, go on.
She's not technologically advanced enough to know.
All right,
however, my brother and sister-in-law might listen, and this is out of love. Anyway,
out of love, she said. Go ahead.
Last night, I go to my brother's house to celebrate my niece's birthday, and my niece is incredibly verbal. She is not shy. She speaks full sentences. She's totally fine. So I will talk to her like she's just another adult in the room. Like I just have conversations with her and I'll ask her questions. And my mom will always jump in to answer for her and usually give her the answer that my mom thinks is correct, but isn't always correct. Okay. So like, and one of the questions I asked was a simple opinion question, like, hey, what's your favorite food? You know? And my mom jumps in like immediately and was like, oh, tell her that it's macaroni and cheese. And I'm like, Mom, I asked her what her favorite food is. And like 2 minutes later, my niece goes, it's pizza.
Oh, that's so cute. How old is your niece now?
She's 3.
I love that.
Yeah. So first of all, my mom didn't have the right answer and she was trying to give it for my niece, and my niece had a different answer that day. Now maybe her food normally is mac and cheese, but that day we were going to eat pizza and it was on her mind and she said, it's pizza. And I go, oh, that's great. I love pizza too. And my mom was like, so mad, like, no, it's not. Like, I'm like, stop. Like, who cares?
What
like right at this moment, her favorite food is pizza. Like, who cares?
What is the difference?
I wasn't asking, like, writing a whole report on what her favorite food is. It doesn't matter what her answer is.
Why do people do that? And I've also seen it over and over.
Yeah.
I one time ran into a family that I know in a store, and I knew that they had been away on vacation, and I looked right at the child and I said, did you have a good time? And the parent said, tell her what a great time we had. Like,
yeah,
that's maybe child wanted to tell me, so I don't know. And
Something
now the
else. Like,
child
yeah.
is not talking. Now the child is done
Well,
talking.
you took their words away from them.
Yes.
Like it's because now they're thinking like, should I say what the adult told me to say, or should I tell my actual opinion, which is different than what that adult said? So it's like you're taking their
Don't we always
voice
tell them?
away.
Don't we always tell them use your words, and then we
Yeah,
jump
and then you
in? I
take
don't.
them away. Yeah. I also don't like the whole volunteering. This happens with adults too. It's not just kids. The volunteering, like when you're in a conversation and you're not even talking about this topic, but out of nowhere, people don't know what to talk about in group situations. So they'll be like, oh, tell them about the time we did this. And we do this to kids all the time. Kids will be like, oh, tell them about the time we went for ice cream. Remember that? And the kid's like, no, I don't remember that. That was 3 months ago. You know what I mean? Or they might not honestly want to talk at that moment. And you're putting them on the spot of the story that they now have to try to remember what the significance of it is. And it might not have been significant to them. And you're putting them like on the stage of like, now we have to talk and I don't know what to say. And then the adult's going to fill in the blanks anyway. So what's the point?
And like, let kids decide what stories they're going to tell. Let them talk. Let them decide what stories they're going to tell. There are some stories that are not mine to tell. I think it's a lesson that parents learn. Hopefully parents learn as their kids continue to get older, and you do tell a story that actually they should be telling, and they get upset. And you realize this wasn't my story to tell.
It's not my story to tell.
Yeah. And so when I'm working with a younger child, or I'm talking to a younger child and I say, what's your favorite food? That's not the adult's story to tell.
No.
If I look at a young child and I say, how was your vacation? If I wanted to know from the adult how the vacation was, I would be looking at you and I would be asking you. The impression of the vacation on your child is not your story to tell.
Right.
And we need to give them time to respond to people. What does a child feel like if the adults are forever jumping in with answers?
I feel like they're going to learn not to answer. Why bother answering? My mom, dad, adult, grandma, whoever is going to answer for me. So why am I going to even bother trying to process what she said? Because it doesn't matter. Somebody's going to answer for me. That's what I think it kind of does.
I think they also might think, oh, I wouldn't have answered that right, or I wouldn't have answered that well. And it makes them feel less capable. I love that your niece was like, nope, it's pizza. Like, I love that she owned the question. What she did was she owned the question. That question was asked of me. And I'm going to say something else, just maybe even just to say something else, because she has her own voice.
Right.
And she knew how to use it at the age of 3.
Yeah.
She knew to say, it's pizza.
Yeah, it's pizza.
Right. But I think, a 3-year-old is probably more apt to jump in and go, no, that isn't what I was going to say, than maybe a 4, 5, or 6-year-old who begin to become aware more of the social context around them. And the clues around them. And as children get older, of course, each consecutive year, they begin, I think somewhere in pre-K, they begin to worry about what their peers are going to think about what they say and do. And so if we're sending them the message that you don't answer well, you can't answer well, you wouldn't have been right, then, or adults need to speak for you because you can't do it on your own, then that's not a good message, as we're trying to teach them to stand for themselves, to speak for themselves, to be an independent thinker.
Yeah.
Allowing a child the space to talk, that's allowing them to learn to be independent thinkers. And, even if the child never answers, like, let's say I say to a child, how was your vacation? And they just kind of cower back. My response should be, well, maybe you'll tell me another time. And then I move on to the adults. I'm not then going to move to the adult and go, well, how was his vacation?
Yeah. I might go to the adult and be like, how was your vacation?
Yeah. Did you enjoy yourself? Did you enjoy yourself?
Yeah.
But now the conversation is between me and the adult, and the child I just look at them and say, maybe you'll tell me another time how you felt. Yeah. And then I turn and say, how did you feel? How was your vacation, to the adult?
Yeah.
And we have to separate that. When a child doesn't answer right away, it's okay. And it's sort of like this too. If a child doesn't answer right away, I'm always telling teachers this too, when they're sitting in a large group activity, and let's say the children are participating in answering a question that you're putting on a chart, or you're tallying something or whatever, and it's some large group activity and children don't answer, if that's okay. You need to just look at them and say, that's okay. You can tell me later, so that we're not making kids feel ashamed of not jumping in. It may not be their temperament, might not be a child's personality to do that.
Yeah. I think we also have to kind of accept their answers, even if their answers might be entirely far-fetched and wrong. Okay. Because like, again, last night I'm talking to my niece and she's telling a story about, I had so many topics on my niece. I should hang out there more often. So, my niece is telling a story about there's animals on the roof. I guess she heard an animal on the roof, right? And we were talking about what could possibly be on the roof, right? And we came up with some answers that honestly could never happen, but whatever. One of them was, it could be reindeer on the roof, because Santa. But then I was like, but do you think it was? Because I don't know. And she goes, nah, that's too big. And then she goes, I think it was rabbits. Okay, now I know rabbits cannot go on the roof of a house, but she went on and on and on. But she goes, no, I think it's rabbits. So then I'm asking questions like, well, how did the rabbit get up there? And she goes, well, it could fly. I'm like, I don't know, can rabbits fly? Do you think? She goes, wait a minute, no, they can't. So she knew, and she goes, well, maybe it hopped. I'm like, do you think they can hop that high? She goes, I do think they can hop that high. So I was like, okay, well, maybe it was a rabbit then. And I just kind of let her have her imagination, thinking a rabbit could hop. And like the other people in the room were like, maybe you should tell her that rabbits could never be on the roof. I'm like, no, why? Let her have her story. She's using her imagination. She thinks it's a rabbit. Eventually, one day she'll realize rabbits could never go on a roof. But right now, let her think it. We told this whole story. It went on for like a good 15 minutes talking about rabbits on a roof and how they got up there.
Inventive thinking, imaginative thinking.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And like, if I corrected her and said, no, a rabbit could never go on a roof, that couldn't happen. It would have just pushed that whole story and experience aside. And she would have been like, oh, I'm never going to answer again. I'm never going to use my imagination. I'm always wrong.
I'm not talking to Aunt Allison again.
Yes, exactly. She's mean to me. And I was just like, well, do you think, and I tried to ask, like, do you think that could happen? And she said, yes. I was like, okay, well, do you think they flew up there? And she said yes at first, and then thought about it, like, oh wait, no, they don't have wings. You're okay. And still knew, like, oh, rabbits hop, it probably hopped up there. All right.
Young kids her age.
Any harm to think that?
No. And young kids her age can't separate fantasy from reality. We know that about them. So let her have it. She'll eventually separate fantasy from reality. I've seen adults also, like, kids will tell a story like that, like some kind of fantastical story, and adults will be like, that's not what happened. Well, who cares, frankly?
Who cares?
I know that's not what happened.
And you as the adult, it's not harming you for this story to come out. Like, it's not harming me at all to let her believe that a rabbit was on the roof. Let her believe a rabbit's on the roof.
I think that's a wonderful example of the inability to separate fantasy from reality. It's a wonderful example of the developmental stage of a 3-year-old, and she will come out of that. It's not like she was telling you a harmful lie. She was using her imagination with limited information maybe that she had about rabbits. And
I asked the question, what animal do you think was up there? What do you think was? And that was her answer.
And so I go back to let the child talk.
Just let him talk.
Let the child talk. It's so sad when we stifle them that way. Please don't jump in as much as you maybe do. You may not even realize you're doing it, by the way.
You probably don't. I don't think my mother realizes.
No, probably not. And if it's something that we grew up with, let's say we grew up with people jumping in when children are talking, then it's just something you do because it's all you know. If you're doing that, I highly encourage you to be aware. I jumped in. I didn't give this child a chance. And if the child never answers you, that's fine. You just say, you know what, if you want to tell me later, you can, and then move on. Just keep the door open. Keep the door open that the child can come back later. I've had kids do that where I say, if you want to tell me later, you can. And like halfway through the day, they come up and they would sit on my lap and start telling me about what I asked them about earlier.
Yeah.
They weren't ready yet. It's all right.
They weren't ready.
Yeah. And when people also, when they would bring them in and go, tell Cindy, blah, 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 blah. Well, you just told me.
Yes. Why would they repeat it? Yeah.
You just told me, tell Cindy how we were in the store and you wanted the candy and you used please. And I was so proud of you. Well, I've got the whole story now.
Yeah. Oh my
So,
God. Yeah, that does happen.
uh-huh.
Why? Why?
I don't know why. Why can't the adult? Here's the thing. Okay, ready? Why can't the adult just come in and look at me and say, yesterday he wanted a candy and he used the word please. Isn't that great? Why do we have to say, tell Cindy that,
Yeah.
as if it has to go through the other person?
Right. Or wait, and the kid will tell that story if they want to tell that story.
It's not even your story. I know.
It's not your story.
But if I don't know, I'm curious why adults do that. Why they'll bring children in and go, tell her, blah, 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 blah. And then they tell
It's
the
like
story.
You're being volunteered for something that you might not want to share.
No, they're being volunteered for something they're not even going to do. The adult has full knowledge that they're going to come in and tell the story, right? They bring the child and they go, tell her, da, 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 da. But now you've already told me the story. And the kid is just standing there shrugging at me and looking like, what just happened?
Well, I also feel like it shows that, like, for adults, some things are significant, but for kids, they're not significant, right?
Do you
so, like,
think,
for the adult,
do you
was
think
significant.
No, do
that
you
she said,
think,
please.
do you think that the adult said to the child, tell her this story, as if it's coming from the child, because the adult isn't sure how the other adult is going to react? Like it could, the one adult could be thinking, well, if I just go in and tell the story, then she's going to think I'm bragging or lying. So I'm going to say,
But
tell
if
the
it comes from
child to tell the
kid,
story, even though I'm going to
Okay.
tell the story. Did everybody follow that? I don't know.
I followed that. I
Thank
got
you.
that.
Thank you.
It's a way for the adult not to be bragging about their child's behavior, is what you're
Yes.
saying.
Or
But
the
really,
adult,
by doing what they're doing, they're bragging about their child's behavior.
or
by doing it that way.
Yes, that, or it's a way for the adult to sort of use the child as a shield for any reaction the other person may have or not have.
Oh, that's even worse.
But it's possible.
So you're setting your kid up to get the reaction, which might or might not be negative.
Am I wrong here? It could be.
When an adult can take that, but a kid might not be able to.
Listen, people are who they are. I don't, there's
whoa.
Okay. Well, now that I've blown her mind, we're going to go back to please let them talk.
Let them talk.
Let them talk.
Yeah.
Let them tell the story. If they want to, give them a chance to answer. Don't jump in. Don't assume you know Allison's niece's favorite food, because you may not. And by the way, 3-year-olds' favorite foods change by the moment. Just let the kids talk or not talk or whatever they want to do. Let them be. But when we jump in and we send them the message that we don't think you would answer correctly, you are capable, or we're pretty sure we want it answered this way. So whatever you were going to say is just not as important or valid. That's not a good message to the kids. Catch yourselves, folks. Catch yourself jumping in. Most people do it.
Yes.
They do one of the things we've talked about, at least.
Yeah. At least.
Yeah. Okay. I think I feel done with it. So now we're going to let you all talk amongst yourselves. And you can also kind of talk at us by sending us a message through our website, howpreschoolteachersdoit.com, or through Facebook. You can message us through the podcasts page.
Yeah.
Okay,
we'll
folks.
Talk.
Yes, we're going to go let you talk amongst yourselves, and we will catch you next time.
Bye.